Extremist figures who invested in Bitcoin as a bulwark against efforts to block their political activity now find themselves holding what amounts to winning lottery tickets. After the bloody Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia, in August, technology companies tightened rules against hate speech and banned many extremists from using web hosting services, social media platforms and online payment systems. But some on the farthest edges of the political spectrum soon found an effective tool for thwarting this industry crackdown: Bitcoin. Even before Charlottesville, Richard Spencer, a prominent member of the alt-right, a group that espouses racist, anti-Semitic and sexist views and seeks a whites-only state, had gone as far as declaring Bitcoin the currency of the alt-right. But far-right political leaders and experts on extremist movements alike say the adoption of Bitcoin gained new urgency after Charlottesville as extremists looked for ways to operate beyond the reach of government control and the shifting policies of U.S. tech companies. Those who began acquiring Bitcoin in August already have reaped substantial returns, despite the recent volatility in its price. In the months since demonstrators carried flaming torches and chanted "Jews will not replace us," Bitcoin has quadrupled in value. The digital currency began trading on several mainstream financial markets this month, pushing the price of a single Bitcoin at times above $19,000. It was worth $16,000 at one point Tuesday. Extremist figures who invested in Bitcoin as a bulwark against efforts to block their political activity now find themselves holding what amount to winning lottery tickets. The proceeds could be used to communicate political messages, organize events and keep websites online even as most mainstream hosting services shun them, experts say. Bitcoin is allowing people in the movement to go beyond cash in an envelope or a check, said Heidi Bayrich, head of the Intelligence Project at the Southern Poverty Law Center, a non-profit group that tracks extremists. It's really a godsend to them. Deplatformed. First created in 2009 by an anonymous computer programmer, Bitcoin is a digital currency that is not issued by any government and has no physical manifestation, such as actual coins or bills. Someone who wants to buy Bitcoin can sign up for one of many online exchanges. Each account gets a unique identifier of numbers and letters, and pay dollars, or other traditional currency, for the digital currency. People can also send Bitcoin to others or conduct transactions at any of the growing list of businesses, non-profit groups and financial institutions that accept it. A secure, continuously updated ledger called the blockchain records all transactions in a publicly visible way, assigning each an alphanumeric record. Unlike the closely government-regulated banking systems that record traditional financial transactions, the blockchain is completely decentralized, relying on complex mathematical calculations across countless computers worldwide. Such a system makes it difficult for regulators and law enforcement agencies to monitor assets or know the identities of particular account holders. It also allows fringe groups not only to collect money, but to spend it more easily. For example, on foreign online services if U.S. companies restrict their access. Google, GoDaddy, PayPal and others banned some far-right activists from their services after the Charlottesville rally, saying they violated rules against hate speech. Spencer and others who have lost access to these services, a process they call being deplatformed, say they are effectively being denied free speech rights. "We have faced enormous problems from being deplatformed," Spencer said. "Bitcoin, at least, from what I can tell, is not something from which we can be deplatformed." Extremists are hardly alone in benefiting from surging Bitcoin values. Early buyers include cryptography enthusiasts, libertarians and professional investors, as well as drug traffickers, money launderers and others who regularly conduct transactions on the dark web, a part of the internet only accessible using specialized software that helps shield online activity. Also unaffiliated with the far right yet profiting handsomely is WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange, who tweeted in October that U.S. political pressure on traditional payment processors such as credit card companies to stop handling transactions for the site caused us to invest in Bitcoin, with greater than 50,000% return. In a dig at policymakers who pressured the companies, Assange expressed his deepest thanks. It's impossible to know how many on the far right are reaping Bitcoin windfalls, but researchers who monitor extreme political activity say they have detected a surge in transactions as people on the far right move assets into the digital currency and increasingly use it for ordinary business purposes. The SPLC is tracking roughly 200 Bitcoin wallets, the way users store the currency online, that it says are held by extremists. Public blockchain records make such monitoring possible. Researchers can study the times, dates and amounts of any transaction, along with what accounts are involved. That does not include the actual names of account holders, but such records can illuminate identities. The SPLC, for example, looks on the donation pages of extremist websites for Bitcoin accounts that are seeking contributions. Digital gold. According to SPLC research, among the most striking recent donations was 14.88 Bitcoin paid to Andrew Anglin, editor of the Daily Stormer, a neo-Nazi online publication that lists a Bitcoin account number online. The SPLC has labeled the Daily Stormer the nation's top hate site. The payment to Anglin came on August 20, as the Daily Stormer, named after the Nazi propaganda tabloid Der Stürmer, was scrambling to recover after several web hosting services kicked it off their platforms. Followers looking for the site at its familiar dailystormer.com address got error messages. The amount of the donation carried particular significance. 1,488 is a reference to a Nazi slogan, 14 words long, about the importance of protecting a future for white children, and 88 refers to Heil Hitler, both words of which start with the eighth letter of the alphabet. At the time of the donation, it was worth about $60,000. Had Anglin kept the entire amount, it would now be worth about $235,000. Instead, it appears that Anglin gradually spent down the donation as he worked to get the Daily Stormer back onto the web, according to John Bembenek, a cybersecurity researcher and threat systems manager at Fidelis Cybersecurity who tracks Bitcoin transactions. But Bembenek said the account that made the 14.88 donation, whose owner is unknown, has gradually drained its value over a series of transactions. Bembenek said his research suggests that this account got its money from another, far larger one, now worth more than $45 million. The alt-right likes Bitcoin the same way criminals and people on the dark web like Bitcoin, Bembenek said. It's a great way to move around assets, especially when you're under the threat of investigation. Anglin, in a phone interview with The Washington Post, declined to confirm or comment on the 14.88 Bitcoin transaction, but he expressed frustration at Bembenek's Twitter bot, saying that some of the information it tweets is inaccurate. Anglin also said he has used Bitcoin almost exclusively since payment services blocked the Daily Stormer beginning in 2014. Bitcoin has helped out a lot, Anglin said. Anglin was sued this year by the SPLC for allegedly inflicting emotional distress on a Jewish woman in Montana by unleashing a troll storm on her. In a December 7 article on the Daily Stormer, Anglin noted the surge in Bitcoin value and said, "Thank you so much to the Law Center for its long-running efforts to get him banned from mainstream payment services, prompting his investment in Bitcoin." Conservative publisher Charles Johnson, whose researcher Bounty site has raised more than $150,000 for the Daily Stormer's battle against the SPLC as part of what Johnson calls his support of free speech, said he has advocated the purchase of Bitcoin since 2015. That's the year Twitter banned Johnson for soliciting donations for taking out a Black Lives Matter activist. Johnson said afterward that he was seeking not to incite violence but to spur an investigation he believed would undermine the activist. Johnson said he has made substantial earnings on Bitcoin investments and increasingly uses it to make donations to political leaders and groups. It's a form of digital gold, Johnson said. It's not surprising that a lot of people on the political fringes would move toward an uncensorable currency. Spencer, however, said he did not begin buying Bitcoin when he touted it in the March tweet. In recent months, though, he has set up several accounts to raise money for various sites and causes. "I really wish I had bought more Bitcoin," Spencer said. "I guess we all do."